Hey everyone, this is the remediation video for Vertex and standard form on Algebra 2. So what are you going to learn in this video? You're going to learn reviewing multiplying binomials, you're going to learn how to convert from Vertex form to standard form, and then the opposite way, you're going to learn to convert from standard form to Vertex form. So first we're going to review how to multiply binomials. This is actually from Algebra 1. If you don't remember this, this is why I'm going to break it down step by step. So the first step is that you multiply the first term in each group. So I'm going to multiply 5v times 3v. So I'm going to write it out so you can see it. So 5 times 3 is 15. V times v is v squared. Okay, now I'm going to do the second step, which is going to be the first term, 5v times negative 6. Okay, these are the outside terms. 5v times, and notice that it's a negative 6. So 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. Please make sure that you don't forget your sign, and then don't forget the v. All right, the third step is the insides. So 4 times 3v. 4 times 3 is positive 12. Again, don't forget the sign, and then v. And then the last step is the last of each group. So 4 is the last of this group, and then negative 6 is the last of that group. So 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. The last step is that you want to combine the like terms in the middle. So this comes down, 15v squared. We're going to combine these, which is negative 18v. And then this one we just pull down. And that is how you multiply binomials. Again, this is from Algebra 1. It's an important skill to know because we use it in this unit. So we're going to use it here when we're converting from Vertex form to standard form. So for the first problem, you notice that there's an exponent squared. That means that there's 2 of this group. So we're going to expand it out. So we have negative 3. We have 2 of the x minus 2, and then don't forget the minus 4 on the outside. Now we're going to do exactly what we just practiced, which is multiplying binomials. So I'm going to keep the negative 3 out here, and I'm going to keep the negative 4 out here, but I'm going to multiply those 2 binomials. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. Negative 2 times x is going to be negative 2x again. And then the last one is negative 2 times negative 2. So a negative times a negative is positive. This is an area that most people make mistakes, is they either mess up the signs or they mess up multiplying something. So please make sure that you show this step by step. Again, we're going to keep negative 3 on the outside, negative 4 on the outside, and we're going to simplify what we just multiplied out. So we're going to combine like terms in the middle, so x squared comes down. Negative 2x and negative 2x, we're combining it together, so how many negatives total do we have? We have negative 4x total, and then we bring down the 4. All right. Now we want to get rid of the parentheses. In order to get rid of the parentheses, we're going to have to do the distributive property. So I'm going to distribute multiplying out negative 3 to each group. So I'm going to multiply 3 different times. And that will eliminate the parentheses. So the first one is negative 3 times x squared. We just put it together. Negative 3x squared. The next one is negative 3 times negative 4x. Again, a negative times a negative is positive. 3 times 4 is 12. And then don't forget the x. And then the last thing we have to multiply are the constants. So negative 3 times positive 4. So a negative times a positive would be negative. And then again, don't forget that we have the minus 4 still on the outside. Now we're on the last step. And once again, we need to simplify. So we're going to combine the like terms at the end because they're both numbers that don't have any variables. So our final answer is going to be negative 3x squared plus 12x, and then negative 12 and negative 4. How many negatives total is this? It's negative 16. And that's your final answer. So this is called standard form. Okay, we've used this in other units where we identify this as a quadratic. The first term is A, second term is B, last term is C. And then what we started with, that was vertex form. So a quick review, we expand this out, then we multiply it out using FOIL, then we simplify and combine like terms in the middle, then we did distributive property and multiply the negative 3 with each group, and then we combined it in like terms at the end. We're going to do one more example of this type. The difference with this one is there's a fraction. So we're going to do the same first step, which is expand it out. So I have 2 of the x plus 5. That's what the exponent means. Don't forget the plus 2 on the outside. Now we're going to use FOIL, which is how you multiply out binomials. So we're going to multiply the first, which is f. We're going to do the outside groups, which is O, the inside groups, which is I, and then the last groups, which is L. So x times x is x squared. X times 5 is positive 5x. 5 times x, 5x. And then the last one, 5 times 5, positive 25. Now before we do distributive property, we need to combine like terms in the middle. 5x plus 5x, how many x's total do you have? 10x. Now for this next part, we need to eliminate parentheses. So how do we do this? We use distributive property. So we're going to multiply out 3 times. Okay? So 1/4 times x squared, again, we just combined it. 1/4 x squared. For the next one, it's a little bit different. We have 1/4 times 10. All you have to do is you multiply the top number with 10. So it's going to be 1 times 10 is 10, and on the bottom is 4. Now, if you don't remember how to do this, you could use your calculator here. So remember, first, we're going to click the alpha button. Click the button next to it to get your fraction. And then we're going to do 1/4 times 10. Now you can't type variables like x in there. You can only type the numbers. And so you show right here that it's 5/2, which is another way that we can simplify this that we'll get to. So I'll put that below. Okay, and then same thing, we need to finish what we were multiplying. 1/4 times 25 would be 25/4. And then the 2's on the outside, we just copy it below. Now, from 10/4 to 5/2, if you weren't using a calculator, remember they're both even numbers, so you can half them. Half of 10 is 5, and half of 4 is 2. Now, for 25/4, they're not both even, so you can't do that method. All we have to do is type this in. I'm going to save the calculator to simplify. So we're going to do, again, alpha, and the button right next to it. We're going to do 25/4, and then we're going to be adding 2. Plus 2 equals 33/4. It's going to be 33/4. And you can just leave your answer just like this. And that is how you convert from vertex form to standard form. And then the last part that you're going to learn is how to go backwards. Now we're going to go from standard form to vertex form. This one's a little bit more complicated because you do have to memorize a little formula, which is the AOS. So I'm going to zoom in. AOS stands for axis of symmetry. And the formula for that is -b/2a. please use parentheses. So the first thing we're going to do is identify A, B, and C. So A is the term that's right here with the x squared term, that'd be 1. B is always with the x term. And C is always the number that's alone that does not have a variable. Now we're going to use those values. So again, when I said use parentheses, this is where you're going to use parentheses. And the reason is, this is a double negative. B is already negative, so I'm substituting it here. And we can't forget that the negative is outside as well. And then A is 1. And now we simplify. A negative times a negative is positive, so that becomes positive 10. And then on the bottom, parentheses means multiplication, so 2 times 1 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay, again, this is called the AOS, the axis of symmetry, and this is our x value. So please write that down next to it. That's very important. Now the next step is you're going to take this value that you found, the AOS, and you're substituting it into the original problem. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy the original problem. And now we're going to substitute in the x value. And we're going to put it where the variables are for x. So what is x? X is 5. And then again, what is x? X is 5. Now you can type that out on your calculator, or you can do it by hand. I'll do it by hand. 5 squared is 25. Negative 10 times 5 is negative 50. And then we have the plus 2. So 25 minus 50 is negative 25. And then we have to copy down the plus 2. And then negative 25 plus 2 is negative 23. So we just used the x value and we substituted it in. And now we have, this is the y value. Once you have the x and y value, you can solve for vertex form. So you do have to memorize what the vertex form looks like, which is a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. Okay, the last value that we need in here is the a value, which we determined at the beginning was 1. So a is 1. And then h is the x value, and here you have to change the value, the sign of the x value. So here it's positive. So now we're going to make it negative. For k, the y value, we don't change the sign. Since the y value is negative 3, we're going to keep it that way. Now, when you type your answer in the test, we always say that babies write 1, and you guys aren't babies, so we don't need that 1 in front. It's not necessary. So this would be your final answer for vertex form. And then I'll do one last example quickly. Okay, the last type of question on this test is the same thing. They're going to be asking you to convert to vertex form, and it just has the extra part that it wants the vertex, which would be the x value and would be the y value. So first, let's identify what is A, B, and C. A is 1. B is negative 6. And C is negative 7. So step 1 is find your AOS. Remember the formula is negative B over 2A. Don't forget parentheses. So we have B is going to be negative 6. And then we have A is 1. And then we simplify. Negative and a negative is positive. Positive times positive, 2 times 1 is 2. And then simplify. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Again, that's our x value. And you can even put it here. Okay, so we have 3 is the x value, which goes right there. Okay, now we're going to do step 2, which is we're going to use this answer, the x value, and substitute it into the original problem. So this is the original problem. And now we're going to substitute. So the x value is 3, so that's what we're substituting in. So 3 squared is 9. Negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. And we copy down the negative 7. Now we're going to simplify. 9 minus 18 is negative 9, and we have the minus 7 as well. Don't forget this. And then we combine negative 9 and negative 7. How many negatives total? Negative 16. Okay, and that's going to be our y value, which goes right here. Y value, negative 16. Okay, and then the last step is to write it in vertex form. So remember, vertex form is a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. So the a value we have at the beginning, which is 1. Then we have x. Remember, we changed the sign of the x value, so here it's positive. So we're going to make it negative here. And then we use the y value, and we don't change the sign. So it's negative. We're going to keep it negative. And then again, babies write 1. You guys aren't babies, so we're going to erase that 1 because it's not necessary. And that would be our vertex form, and that's what you would write right here. All right, good luck.